and a swing gate that's a lot harder to like bring big things on, but I'm sure a motor scooter or something is going to be able to get by that. That's probably going to be more enforcement, but the pathway itself by the water will probably be around 12 feet wide. Hopefully just the fact that that is more of a pedestrian scale and it's not so paved, and you can't really easily weave in and out now between the bike lanes and the pedestrian path, because that's all going to be lawn, might limit that a little bit. But that's more of a design thing than enforcement, which really needs to happen.
Well,
Will they prohibit them?
Oh, I believe that you can't be riding a motorized scooter on those bike lanes right now, but.
so right now, it's not allowed. It is a problem. It's an enforcement issue. Parks did have a pilot for e-bikes on the greenways. I'm in my DM report, and I'm going to share this with everyone. They are asking for input, and I would encourage, everyone on the board that has that concern to share it. It's something that we hear all the time in the office.
Thanks.
Well, that was my concern as well. As
Yeah.
a pedestrian, it's kind of terrifying walking there, and bikes are going in and out and in and out.
That's the great thing, is that in and out really can't happen anymore because it's going to be lawn. There's going to be grass there, and it's going to be pretty wide. They're pushing that bike lane, which usually is right up against the pedestrian area. They're really moving that over closer to the highway to give that grassy space back to the pedestrians. Oh, yeah, if you want to grab some.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Morris. I'm from the Parks Department. The operational wing of the Parks Department. We also have a consultant designer that's working on the project that we were talking about before. I just wanted to it is, it's frustrating when the enforcement of that is tricky because, the people that do have these, and it's electric bikes, a lot of times you can't hear them. They just come through. We struggle with that across, in Prospect Park and all over our areas of Brooklyn. We really struggle with, kind of separating the bikes because it is really frightening to just see, especially strollers. Yeah. So it is an enforcement, as Josephine was saying, we did have a pilot program to try to figure out something with the kind of grander scale of separating them, but this is going to be designed to separate them kind of more and have areas that suggest slowing down and things like that. It is something that we do depend, if there's someone that, you see it all the time, that someone is constantly violating that, we can get the local precinct involved and that kind of stuff because it is against the rules and stuff like that. But I want to be honest with you, it is a tricky enforcement issue that I don't want to brush it aside, but it is something that is on bike paths, being able to separate the actual just genuine bike riders that want to go on a nice stroll and people want to really booking it. It's tricky, but yeah, I hope that helps illuminate a little bit. Okay, I'll stay right here.
Thank you.
Did you call on someone?
Let's go. There we go.
I'm not a design person, but my understanding is that it may not just be an enforcement issue. It may actually be something that we could design around to prevent these motorbikes from actually entering these areas. I don't know how they work exactly, but certainly there are physical things we could do that don't require in-person enforcement, especially things that are going so fast in our neighborhood that very frequently we're not having the opportunities for the police to be able to stop these folks. And it really is so dangerous. I mean, and I appreciate that we're separating, that there will be a walking path and a biking path. I think that's wonderful, but that will lead to a certain complacency if you're in the walking path. And so if somebody is coming down with a motorcycle, which does happen on that path, you may be less alert to it. So I'm hopeful that they'll take it back and really look at there must be other ways. I don't think that every single country has this problem where motorbikes are going on pedestrian paths, so there must be some physical barriers that we can put into place with some money.
Great.
Thank you. I have a few questions. How many existing benches are there between 69th Street and 4th Avenue, and how many benches will there be when this is completed? Because there really needs more benches.
I think you mean in the boundaries of this project?
Yes, just be.
Okay, sure. So
I have more questions. Oh, yeah, okay.
So what I want to just clarify too, what the kind of the boundaries that we're talking about. There's two projects that we showed on the 23rd for October, talked a little bit about Leif Erikson Park, up a little further northwest from here. But the big thing that we wanted to talk about today was underneath the Verrazano. So we can get numbers on the actual amount of benches being like along that area. There's certainly a lot, and how many are going to be added in this project as well. We don't have those offhand, but we certainly provide that to the community board.
Yeah, I believe it's like 1 every 100 feet, and then for a certain section, it's 1 every 120.
Yeah, that sounds about right. There's a lot of them, but yeah. Yeah, speak to it.
So I would say, the existing benches vary. Like the north part might be every 150 feet. The south part maybe every 60 feet, but then sometimes there's clusters. And so the new design is going to provide a cluster of 3 benches about every 450 feet. And surrounding the overpass areas, which are wider, more clusters of benches there and at the south. So, top of my head, probably 300-ish, maybe more total.
More.
Doris is not finished. Wait, Doris is not finished.
We still have more.
I see you're adding adult fitness areas. Why nothing for children? There is nothing for children on that side of the highway.
You don't have an answer, okay.
That's a great question. I think adult fitness areas require a little bit less space. For like children areas, we really like to insulate them as much as possible, keep them away from like fast traffic, things of that nature. Because as we know, youngsters like to bolt out of areas. This was funded for that area, and we did receive feedback that people did want, because it is kind of goes one and the same of you're biking, you want to get somewhere, you want to increase the exercise and things like that. So we did want to make sure that people had that area where they could amplify their exercise routines as they kind of go down the bicycle path. But with playgrounds, it's tricky. We don't want to necessarily mix together small children with very fast-moving vehicles and things like that nature. But it's well received that we do need play areas all over for children all over the borough, anywhere we can get them. But that's what that kind of was part of as well.
Let's in the Q&A.
Okay.
With a lot more people, there's going to be a lot more trash. So how are they planning to dispose of all that?
So we'll add trash on some regular basis, that makes sense. And the bike lanes, which will be 10 feet wide, will accommodate maintenance vehicles. So when people need to come pick up trash and then bring it to a place, that can happen.
Is there going to be any kind of barrier between the Belt Parkway and the cyclists? Because currently it's like a chain link fence, which has been crashed into multiple times. So there's like holes in it currently. It's really unpleasant riding, especially going north at nighttime. You're just blinded by the headlights. You can't see like obstacles in front of you, like potholes and things like that. So it just feels really sketchy. It'd be really helpful if there was some kind of like barrier that blocked the cars, and it increased safety too.
I mean, that's something we can look into. As of right now, we were leaving chain link fences where they are. And where there aren't, we were planning on shifting the greenway, the bike lanes at least. So our goal is 5 feet away from the highway. So there's like a little bit of a buffer. I don't know if you're familiar with Joe Michael's Mile in Queens near the Cross Island. But they have like a 5-foot buffer before stripe and bike lane. And where it's a little bit challenging, like for instance, between when you go past those overpasses, 4 feet is what we're going to aim for. And those areas have the chain link fence. So my answer is right now it's chain link fence, but it's something we can look into. I think we just want to prioritize safety more than anything, but we'll do our best to widen it just a little bit.
So like you're riding your bike and they just zoom past you going like 100 miles an hour. So it just feels like a little, I don't think 5 feet is really a buffer.
Yeah, so I mean, the bike lanes are going to be 5 feet each lane. So you're going to have 2 ways next to each other, 5 feet, 5 feet. So, 2 dedicated directions.
I just want to say I think you're getting some great community input as far as safety and the needs that people have. I think it would be great if they could be written down and taken back. Seriously. My question is, I was just wondering if the cobblestone on the walkway on Shore Road is going to be addressed, or is this just the down below stuff? Okay, because the cobblestone there is really pretty treacherous. Okay, thank you.
It's interesting you're adding gaming tables. They have gaming tables at J.J. Carty Park, and I've never seen them used, and I have spent a lot of time in that playground. Yes, never. And then I would also like to make a comment. Every year on our capital expense budget, the repair of the seawall is our number one priority. And there are no healthy trees between 69th Street and 4th Avenue because they don't keep, the dirt just washes away because it was, and so I can't see, if we don't repair the seawall, it's just, I don't see what good it's going to do to plant things because they just won't grow.
Did you want to respond to that or no?
Well, I mean, sure. I mean, so it is an active project for the seawall. It's not going to be included in this area, but there's an active project. We're currently in some engineering for. It's a little bit further east on the from the Verrazano Bridge. It's not going to be in this area, but understood. The seawall. There's some DEP outfalls that are in the area that I don't have all the information on it right now about that specific project, but understood that so the area that we're talking about here is going to be along, let's see here. Ryan, actually, do you want to talk a little bit more about like the actual total area of the project itself? Yeah, which area do you?
69th Street and 4th Avenue. The area that you discussed in those two.
Soil subsidence and,
Right.
you know, that causes potholes and things like that.
Right.
And we're constantly having to redo the bike path and the pedestrian path because of serious sinkholes.
Yeah. Well, the bulkhead is not part of this project, but from what I understand, there is a series of bulkhead projects that are working their way up north. It's the best I can.
Okay. So I'm very much so looking forward to this project. You know, the bike lane makes a lot of sense with the directions. One of my favorite bike lanes in the city is the West Side Highway bikeway. It has really, really nice like bullet designs that separate out different areas. And specifically, two things I want to highlight there is sometimes there's bollards that happen right before a crosswalk, and so that physically like, hey, I should slow down. I can't go too fast. That might help in that area where you're going from a parking lot. And then second is sometimes there's these like Z fences where you have to like slow down and physically walk your bikes. That might be interesting because I don't imagine this bikeway to be like a commuting, like heavy commuting bikeway, and so that might be a more recreational, okay use of that. And then with regards to the pedestrian areas, it'd be nice to have some planter boxes there near like the entrances to kind of indicate this non-area for bikes to go through, and maybe some planters throughout the area, just be like, okay, this is like a walking, peaceful area. But this is great. Looking forward. Oh, one more thing. Are there going to be lights there?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So that's something we are working with DOT to figure out their requirement to illuminate it appropriately. So yes, that's the goal.
Any other board members?
Do we want to do? Yeah, we can go for members of the public for just, we got, perfect.
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, maybe I'm just misinterpreting the design, but what is to prevent somebody from driving onto the bike path or onto the pedestrian area? Is it just the chain link fence and the 4-foot buffer, or are there any bollards there to prevent, from the highway?
From the highway, there are like crash elements and things like that, like any highway, to make sure that you don't like drive straight off the highway.
All right. Sometimes I've been there and I haven't seen them, so that's why I was asking, but
yeah,
okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah, we can, if you want to do, how are we doing on time? We can do a couple of members of the public, absolutely.
Okay.
This is everybody's park.
I just
No
want
problem.
to
We'll
say
do
your
one.
plans sound amazing, and I'm sure it's a great project. However, I don't understand why on 79th Street and Shore Road, where there's a children's park there that's very busy, and where they have concerts during the summer, there is a bathroom. There are bathrooms there already, but they're disgusting, and it's an embarrassment, and I don't understand why you can't renovate them. You don't have to put new pipes or anything. But if you just clean them up, I don't think it's like that's such a big deal or such an expense with all the money you're spending on everything else.
Yeah, that is part of Community Board 10. We've been focusing on that, not in this project, but we'll absolutely take it under advisement. Thank you. Like, we do have some budget things, but we're going to have to move forward. We're running a little bit out of time, so is there anything else from board members? And I guess we can call the question. Everyone in favor? All right. Anyone opposed? Abstentions, recusals? All right, motion passed. Thank you, everyone. We have one more, which is the Leif Erikson Park Greenway. I will run through this as fast as I can. The project will cover the existing Greenway route, which for those of you who are not familiar, runs from the northern edge of the park from 7th Avenue down to 3rd Avenue, crossing 6th, 5th, and 4th Ave, along with a new extension over the disused path between 3rd and Ridge Boulevard. The Greenway connects a large number of our existing on-street bike paths, as well as serving as a major arterial route from the protected 7th Avenue bike lane down to the Shore Road Promenade Greenway. Among the concerns the Parks Department heard from members of our community along this route included lack of lighting on some stretches of the route, parked cars blocking the only paths across some streets, poor signage indicating where the Greenway actually was, and terrible condition of the hex pavers, which are not only too bumpy and uneven for cyclists, but problematic for people with mobility issues, strollers, and heck, even I have a problem walking down those pathways. Also, the pathway from 3rd to 2nd along the highway access road that leads to the belt in the shadow of the Bay Ridge Towers is entirely unpaved and in pretty bad shape. The redesign proposes repaving the entire Greenway path, which is shared with pedestrians for much of the route, into a much smoother asphalt. The decorative asphalt hex paver designs will remain present, however, at the street corners, kind of in a decorative fashion, to maintain some of that original aesthetic. New lighting will be installed throughout, as well as new signage to more clearly identify the Greenway path for cyclists and pedestrians. Some trees in poor health will be removed, and numerous new London plane trees will be planted in addition, more than offsetting the lost trees. Many of the more problematic street crossings will be addressed with DOT assistance, including restriping crosswalks and installing new traffic lights. One area to highlight is where the Greenway crosses over what is technically Shore Road between 4th and 5th Avenue, as the car lanes kind of realign to the center of the block that brings cars onto the belt. There's a crossover there where parked cars continually block the pedestrian and cyclist crosswalk. That crossing will be converted into a colored raised crosswalk, clearly identifying the crossing and making it a lot easier for pedestrians and cyclists to cross safely. The area behind the Leif Erikson Monument, which sadly right now is empty except for a trash can, will get new benches and bike racks. The area between 4th and 2nd, that dirt path, will be finally getting redesigned and paved with new removable bollards installed at access points to limit vehicular access. The Parks Department has called this part of the Greenway Keegan's Path, which none of us had actually ever heard of, but it does bear the same name as our local alderman, William J. Keegan, who represented Bay Ridge from 1896 to 1901, so fun fact. It's not just the paving. Keegan's Path will be getting new plantings and flowering trees, mostly eastern rosebuds and serviceberries, along with brand new lighting. The end of the Greenway at 2nd Avenue will also get a street safety element, a self-actualized traffic light, which will help cyclists better navigate that often dangerous mid-block turn onto 2nd Avenue. A new button on the Greenway, kind of like a push-to-cross button at a crosswalk, will let cyclists signal that they're about to enter the roadway, and a traffic light can then activate, turning red, giving cyclists the right of way, and when no cyclists are waiting, the road functions as normal, cars can simply go on by. The Parks Department did meet in digital quorum and voted unanimously in approval of the project with the following comments. First, the Parks Department stay open to other tree options other than London planes, specifically because a large number of them have become blighted in recent years, and a different tree might fare better and have some good longevity. The Parks Department remained open to this, but had included London planes in order to maintain the historic character of Leif Erikson Park, but they'll confer with the foresters. Since we met in digital quorum, we'll need a second to bring this to the table. All right. And discussion. Questions? Yeah, let's do it.
Forgive me if I'm being stupid, but I can't picture, you first talked about it's all the way down by, the Leif Erikson Park is down like by 67th Street, down, right? And then you talked about Shore Road between 4th and 5th Avenue. So I got a little confused. And also, one more thing, in the Leif Erikson Park, wasn't that the place where, I remember a gentleman came to our meeting a couple times talking about pickleball courts? Wasn't that in a location there?
Yes, that is like the larger Leif Erikson, but we're only doing the greenway, which is kind of like the northern edge of the park. There's like kind of like a route that wraps through the park itself. So that's like the project area. And when I mentioned Shore Road, it's because technically Shore Road wraps around the actual water, but for a brief bit, it turns and goes into Bay Ridge. And those like kind of scenic drives that lead you onto the belt, you know, that like go down and through the hills, that's technically Shore Road as well. So that's called Shore Road Drive. So that area where all of those roads kind of merge and cut through the park, that's really awkward for people to navigate. So they're kind of changing up those crosswalks to make them a little better. All right.
I'm just wondering if the pedestrian paths are going to be for bicyclists and pedestrians, and will they be separated?
So they're going to be shared the whole way. Correct, yeah. But the bikes can only go there. So the greenway from Eric Place will shoot you directly north, right along that Eric Place edge, take you the north edge the whole way on a bike. Pedestrians can go anywhere, though, basically, is what that is. So that means the north has to be shared. And since it's 12 feet existing, that's a good size.
All right, any other discussion? All right, seeing none, do we have, let's go call the question. All in favor? All right. And all opposed? Abstentions, recusals? There we go. All right, and motion carries. Thank you, everyone. That is the Parks Department Committee report respectfully submitted.
Thank you so much. And now we will move on to our Traffic and Transportation Committee report. Please welcome Jack Zhang.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So first I have a report on the MTA, then I have another one on transportation alternatives, and two open street dining applications. So on October 30th, 2024, the MT provided an update on the ongoing project to make the 95th Street R station ADA accessible. The project is underway as part of a design-build contract for 4 total stations starting in September 2023. The project is slated to be completed in Q3 2025 next year. The station will have 2 new elevators, upgrades to wider staircases with ADA-compliant railings, as well as an ADA-compliant public restroom. The mezzanine to platform staircase was completed in May 2024 with the, as in this year, with the street to mezzanine staircase, as well as both elevators to be completed in spring 2025. Other work completed are for walls for the elevator room, the janitor's closet, updated yellow platform edge tile, and street level elevator head house. Service disruptions may occur in the next half a year, and signs will be posted and nearby businesses notified. The MTA noted that for non-emergency questions and concerns, the public can email 4stationsada.improvements@gmail.com or call the project hotline at 866-841-4762. And I just want to mention that during the meeting, they did have pictures of the design, so I would recommend looking up the video on the October 30th TNT meeting if you want to see the presentation. Secondly, report on the transportation alternative presentation. On October 30th, 2024, as part of being advocates for pedestrian safety, the TNT committee met with Transportation Alternatives, a nonprofit, and received a presentation on Community District 10 street safety and transit stats, as well as useful tools the public can use to learn more about the district. We learned that since September 2020, CD10 has had 4,732 traffic crashes, 2,100 injuries, 24 fatalities, of which 11 were pedestrians. In CD10, 36% of commuters take the subway, 22% drive, 9% walk, and 8% take the bus to work, which is relatively high in terms of driving and taking the bus, as well as walking for the city. The district has relative high levels of street-level noise pollution, high bench count of 2.53 benches per 10K residents. Second time benches have been mentioned in this meeting. An average bus speed of 7.84 miles per hour, and a below-average number of pedestrian plazas at 0. Transportation Alternatives also overviewed many tools, and I'm just going to list them today. She did demo these tools during the presentations. I would encourage you guys to look up what these tools are. They're quite interesting. The first tool was a tool called Crash Mapper. It showed traffic crash statistics. Second was Bus Stop Heat Mapper. This shows the average summer daytime temperature of different bus stops throughout the district. Third was Spatial Equity, which is an expansive tool that showed environmental, mobility, and health metrics across community boards, citywide, and this was developed with MIT. They also showed EJ NYC Full Data Explorer, which showed environmental information such as around air quality, and all these had like multiple metrics. I'm just kind of mentioning one or a couple of ones that were actively shown. The sixth one was Vital Parks Explorer, statistics on parks and greenways, so it showed like number of parks in different community districts. Next was Vision Zero View, VZV. Which showed Vision Zero statistics, and importantly, it showed DOT implementation of various different traffic calming and street design measures around the city. And the last one that they showed was called Sidewalk Width, which, as the name implies, shows the width of sidewalks across the city. Overall, the presentation was very, very insightful and quite useful to the committee to tackle issues on pedestrian safety. In future meetings, we'll certainly be using the data from this presentation to speak about and advocate for different ways that DOT can help our district. Cool. Any questions? Yes. Yes, October 30th with both meetings, so you can watch both of them in one. Any other questions, comments? Great. All right, so on November 14th, the TNT committee met to discuss an application from Istanbul for 2 sidewalk cafes. The owner and a representative for the restaurant was present. The cafe is located at 8002 Fifth Avenue. The sidewalk cafe will have 30 seats and 15 tables on the 80th Street side, and 14 seats and 7 tables on the Fifth Avenue side. The hours of operations are 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. daily. The district office noted that there have not been any 311 complaints for this restaurant, and that there was one public comment regarding the sidewalk enclosure. Per the new rules, the sidewalk cafe can no longer have an enclosure. So I have a motion here that will require a second from the floor because this was virtual quorum, and it states as follows. Motion to deny the application number 2024-07180-30002 for 2 sidewalk cafes, unless the applicant agrees to the following stipulations. 1, the restaurant will meet with the community board in case of future issues or problems raised by the community. 2, it will close at 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and at 12 p.m. midnight Friday and Saturday. 3, only ambient lighting is to be used. 4, umbrellas and/or soundproofing is to be installed. 5, must observe DOT outdoor dining regulations regarding electric lighting and electric connections. It must observe NYC Fire Department codes, no smoking and no smoking regulations, Department of Building codes and Public Assembly codes, and the NYC Department of Consumer Affairs regulations regarding sidewalk cafes. Number 6, outdoor spaces must have seated food service. Number 7, sidewalk cafe area will be kept clean overnight and furniture must be secured at night. Number 8, observe NYC Department of Health and mental hygiene regulations regarding smoking, including designated smoking areas in outdoor spaces. And number 9, observe NYC noise code regulations, and management will enforce this among patrons. So our standard set of stipulations. All right, any questions, comments, discussion?
I know we said it before, when you say seated food service, does that mean that they can't go, a patron can't go in and buy food and bring it out? It has to be served? What does it mean exactly?
That's the pretty typical definition, yeah. So like,
Has to be served, they cannot go in, buy, bring it out, and that kind of thing. So it has to be brought in by a waiter?
right. So that's where the seated portion of it. Yeah. So you can't just go in, order takeout, and then almost like a park area. You can't. It's not like that.
Okay, thank you.
We have one back there.
Would you repeat the stipulation about the umbrellas and the soundproofing?
Yes. That was umbrellas and or soundproofing is to be installed. So they have to install umbrellas if they want to use any kind of covering. Remember, in these regulations, they can't have a fully enclosed box anymore. And then soundproofing has to be installed in order, if they use any kind of like noise that's beyond like ambient noise, they have to have soundproofing. That's kind of built into like the barriers to some extent, but the idea here is to kind of minimize the amount of noise that can permeate from the restaurant.
What is an exterior soundproofing device?
Like different kind of barriers, right, that could be used. I suppose I'm not an expert in sound design potentially, but
I mean,
yeah. The idea really is to like, hey, if there is like excessive noise coming from a sidewalk and roadway cafe, we have a way to be able to, tell them to like, minimize it. Now, typically, I believe like there's no music that can happen outside, so it shouldn't be as much of an issue, but yeah. Sorry, there was one up here first.
I just was wondering, this is going to be a year-round thing, so in the winter also, and then, so they're going to have heat lamps out as well for, and tables and chairs, or?
Well, if they want to, this is for the sidewalk cafe. This is for the sidewalk cafe, not for the roadway cafe. Sidewalk cafes are not seasonal, roadway cafes are. And then I don't think there's explicit rules around heat, but obviously if they want to keep customers, they should keep the outdoor area heated.
Well, because the point is, on the sidewalk, if you're having a number of tables and chairs, and the heat lamps take up room also,
That has to be within that
it's taking up a lot of space on the sidewalk.
Yeah, that has to be
That's it.
within that like range of space within the application. It can't just be outside and pointing in or something. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
There was
That corner of 80th and 5th, there's 2 preschools on 80th Street there, and the visibility is really, really low if you're driving on that corner. So I would just ask that whatever umbrellas, tables, whatever, are not blocking the crosswalk, because there's also been some double parking at that particular location where there was when they did have the roadway cafe, I think it was Roadway Cafe, they had a shed, like a dining shed there, and people would often double park, and it was very, very dangerous if you were driving through. So I'm just hopeful that we can be mindful that those areas will be clear so that the kids can walk by with their parents.
Yeah, as far as I know, so they haven't had an application for for roadway cafe come through yet. So this should be, regular amount of visibility issues. They currently have like a full enclosure, even with the sidewalk cafe portion. That will be taken down, so that at least it will be like more visibility because of that. Let's see.
I noticed that there's a questionnaire that they have to fill out, and one of the questions that they have to answer is that it's rather extensive, is the distance between the cafe all right, the outdoor cafe, and I don't even know how they define that, but, and certain objects, right? For example, from a lamppost, et cetera. What is the purpose of asking those questions if they don't make any difference?
What do you mean by that? Because, so...
Well,
Sorry,
the questionnaire has about 10 or 15 types of objects. There's lampposts, there's mailboxes, things of that nature. It says, what's the distance? So my question is, why are they asking the question if there's no, if it's not necessary? For example, one of them I happen to know happens to be 8 feet for a lamppost, okay? So if it's 8 feet, however they define the outer perimeter of this, does that mean that they can't open it if it's less than 8 feet? I don't quite understand what that's about.
So obviously, the rules are for most of the sidewalk things, like mailboxes, lampposts, it's about 8 feet. There are some things that's like, 5 feet of ways of pedestrian crosswalks. For pedestrians to walk between the sidewalk and this actual street itself, for example. So there's like different rules and regulations there. Within the questionnaire, that's literally just to make sure that they are aware of that regulation and that they design the actual sidewalk cafe to adhere to those, right? And if it doesn't, right, then the DOT has a right to deny the application. And that doesn't even come to us if they deny the application because of those reasons, if they don't meet those basic rules.
But is that mandatory?
Yes.
So in other words, if it's not 8 feet from a lamppost, they can't have one?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
They can't hear you at home.
So yes, if it doesn't meet those minimum requirements, right, as stated in the laws, in the rules, then it doesn't even come to us. That's like, they don't get it at all.
I just have a general question. Can a restaurant have both sidewalk and roadway?
Yes, they can, but those would be 2 separate applications. So when
Right. So I remember when this first came out, there was a certain limitation. I don't know if it was 48 feet or 38 feet. So how come a place on the corner can have 2 roadway, they could essentially have 2 roadway cafes, 2 sidewalk cafes, and then 2 roadway cafes? That's allowed?
So I can't remember the 40 feet limit. Maybe Josephine, you can remind me. But remember the roadway or sidewalk cafes can never extend beyond the boundaries of the plot, right? So some today, right, do because of whatever, like different things. But right now, like in these regulations, they cannot extend beyond that. They can apply to have a sidewalk and a roadway cafe, right? And I think there is some kind of maximum, but I cannot remember like what the.
So I just have it quickly here, in terms of the frontage of the sidewalk cafes. A sidewalk cafe other than an enclosed sidewalk cafe shall be limited to the sidewalk widening that is directly in front of the ground floor restaurant that is operating such sidewalk cafe. So it's limited to the perimeter of the establishment, and it can be on both sides.
Right. In this case, this restaurant has, it has frontage on both sides. Any other discussion? Okay, so I have a motion on the floor. I need a second from the floor. I see a second there, back there. Okay, all right. All in favor? Okay, all opposed? I have 1 there. Abstentions? 2 abstentions? Recusals? 0 recusals. All right, motion passes. Thank you. I have 1 more for you guys. Okay, on November 18th, the TNT committee met to discuss an application from Ammonia Cafe for a roadway cafe. Ammonia Cafe is located at 7612 3rd Avenue. The roadway cafe will have 5 tables and 20 seats on 3rd Avenue. So I don't have this written down because we literally just had the meeting, but some notes here are that they had implied that they will have a sidewalk cafe application also coming soon. DOT has not given that to us, so that will probably come at a later time. Their hours of operations are Sunday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 1 a.m., Friday and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. We discussed smoking within the area. There was some confusion there, but just to clarify, smoking is not allowed, and I think, in the stipulations, we also have now clearly stated that smoking is not allowed in any of these outdoor areas, either roadway or sidewalk cafe. The backyard usage at Omona Cafe is not affected by this, so I think they will continue to use that however they would like within the regulations. And then thirdly, alcohol usage. They have an SLA, but the SLA does not apply to their outdoor area right now, so they won't be serving alcohol there. Once they do apply for an amendment for the SLA, then they will be able to start serving alcohol, which will come back through the Police and Public Safety Committee. Okay, so I have the motion. This doesn't require a second. Motion to deny application number 2024-0723-030004. Yes, for a roadway cafe unless the applicant agrees to the following stipulations. 1, restaurant will meet with community board in case of future issues or problems raised by the community. Number 2, it will close at 11 p.m. Sunday, Thursday, 12 p.m. midnight, Friday and Saturday, which applies only to the outdoor area. Only ambient lighting is to be used. Umbrellas and/or soundproofing is to be installed. Number 5, must observe DOT outdoor dining regulations regarding electric lighting and connections, must observe NYC Fire Department codes, must observe no smoking regulations, must observe Department Building codes and Public Assembly codes, as well as the NYC Department of Consumer Affairs regulations regarding sidewalk cafes. Number 6, outdoor spaces must have seated food service. Number 7, roadway cafes will be kept clean overnight and furniture must be secured at night. Number 8, observe NYC Department of Health and Mental Hygiene regulations regarding smoking, including designated smoking in outdoor spaces. And number 9, observe NYC noise code regulations and management will enforce this among patrons. Again, this is our standard stipulations. Okay, any discussion? We don't need a second. Any discussions? Okay, let's call this question. All right, all in favor? Okay, any opposed? 3, 1, 2, 5. Okay, 5. Okay, any abstentions? Recusals. Okay, 0 and 0. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jack. And now we will move on to our Zoning and Land Use Committee report. Please welcome Stephanie Simone Mahaney.
Thank you. This time you are longer than I'm going to be. Okay. The Zoning and Land Use Committee met in a working group on Wednesday, November 6th at 5:30 p.m. in quorum in a virtual meeting format on Zoom. During this meeting, the committee focused on priorities and strategies for landmarking buildings and areas in CB10 through the New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission and the National Registry of Historic Places. The committee once again reviewed the 7 sites identified by CB10's summer intern, Thadia Delancey, focusing on creating a process for evaluating and prioritizing these and other sites. It debated whether to start with city-owned properties or privately owned buildings, including houses of worship. The committee also discussed the importance of preserving historic rows, as well as individual structures, the potential for future surveys and campaigns, and the need for support from elected officials and the community. So the key points included, 1, priorities for landmarking. The committee decided to prioritize 3 public buildings. The first one is FDNY Firehouse Engine 242, built in 1895 and located at 9219 Fifth Avenue, also known as Guardians of the Narrows. FDNY Firehouse Engine 284, Ladder 149, built in 1912 and located at 1157 79th Street, which is known as Castle on the Hill, and the High School of Telecommunication Arts and Technology, built in 1915 and located at 350 67th Street. The second key point, public versus private properties. For private properties, committee discussion included outreach strategies to property owners and the possibility of starting with the National Registry of Historic Places to introduce historic value recognition and ease concerns about restrictions. However, it was noted that National Registry nominations often require the assistance of a professional consultant, extensive historical research, and detailed documentation, all of which demand a significant amount of time and funding. So number 3, community and stakeholder involvement, engaging local elected officials, organizations like the Bay Ridge Historical Society, and residents was highlighted as critical for gaining support and identifying additional landmark-worthy sites. Number 4, future goals and strategies, developing a comprehensive list of potential landmarks, mapping historic areas, and promoting awareness of under-recognized sites like historic row houses are key future actions. So among those future actions, 1, immediate next steps for landmarking public buildings. The Community Board will prepare a packet with RFEs, or the request for evaluations, which were already written by Thadia Delancey, and these would be for the 3 public sites that I mentioned, the Bay Ridge Firehouse, which is Engine 242, the Diker Heights Firehouse, which is Engine 284, and the High School of Telecommunications, Arts, and Technology. We would also secure letters of support from local elected officials and the Historic Districts Council. Engagement and collaboration. Invite representatives from the Bay Ridge Historical Society to the next meeting and coordinate with the Bay Ridge Conservancy or other preservation-focused organizations to identify additional sites for landmarking. 3 is to create and share a master list. Compile a master list of potential landmark-worthy sites, including public, private, and rows of houses. We would start with a shared map and add community suggestions. Mapping and homework for the committee. Assign areas of Bay Ridge to committee members to identify historic sites and rows of buildings, and share and annotate findings on a central map to avoid duplication and ensure comprehensive coverage. Future survey and public awareness. Explore funding or partnerships for a neighborhood-wide survey of historic buildings, and develop a public awareness campaign to highlight the importance of preserving historic sites, especially less recognized structures like row houses and shanties. And for the next meeting, we are planning on scheduling these working groups every 4 to 6 weeks, and to review the progress on any RFEs, outreach efforts, and mapped findings, and also to discuss potential additions to the landmark list based on input and research. Respectfully submitted, Stephanie Simone Mahaney. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and now we will move on to our Environmental Committee report. Please welcome Tracy Britton.
Good evening. The Environmental Committee met as a hybrid meeting at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, November 12th, 2024, in person at the district office and via Zoom. The meeting was regarding the green infrastructure in OH-015 Gravesend Bay CSO tributary area, Phase 4 project ID GKOH15-04. Precast porous concrete panels, which will be installed in the portion of Community District 10. We were also joined by members and District Manager Marnie Elias Pavea of Community Board 11, as this project also falls in Community Board 11. Representatives from both the DDC and the DEP gave the presentation. The project is currently in the design phase, and it is about 50% complete. Design started in 2019, and is expected to be completed by December of 2026, with construction scheduled to begin in October of 2027 and to be completed by spring of 2031. The project will install precast permeable concrete panels, or PPCPs, in the street gutters to soak up stormwater and rainwater and alleviate the ponding in areas after a storm event. Rough estimates show that it will likely alleviate about 3 million gallons of stormwater annually. The construction process will span about 4 years and navigate around existing conditions such as trees, curb lines, speed bumps, etc. And they will be installed block by block, which will take approximately 2 weeks to a month per block, depending on field conditions. There is a portion of in CB10, there's a portion west of 14th Avenue, and then the remainder is in CB11. The flexible panels are permeable with rock, rock underneath, rock pebbles, and a depth of only about 2 feet. They use precast panels instead of casting them in the field because they are a lot easier and much faster to construct. In addition, there is a quality insurance that it will serve the greater purpose of managing the stormwater. It is a retrofit to the street, so everything will mimic existing conditions, except that the panel surface will look slightly different. The excavation and trenchings generally goes quickly as the depth is minimal, and the stormwater will not be going into the existing sewage system. The locations are within the Owl's Head sewer shed draining into Gravesend Bay, and maintenance is currently the responsibility of the DEP, but the DOT may handle long-term maintenance. The city will maintain them regardless. DDC and DEP will continue to update community boards as the design phase and construction progresses by continued communication with both the boards and residents. Respectfully submitted. Any questions?
Thank you so much. And now, is there any old business? Seeing none, any new business? Okay, one moment.
I would like to encourage everyone to look at the north wall of this building. That's the other side of this wall. A local artist told the Parks Department, she said, I walk my dog here all the time, and that wall needs help. Can I paint a mural? And she painted the mural. And I think she did a lovely job, and we should be very grateful and enjoy it.
Thank you. Okay, right over here. Okay. But certainly another thing to be thankful for. Thank you.
Is the commander still here, from the police department, or he left?
No, he left.
I just want to bring up again, I know that we sound like broken records, but the
speeding.
constant drag racing. I mean, I wish he was here. I was going to bring it up when he was here. I live on Shore Road. Many other people do too as well. It's just a constant problem. And then I don't want to hear, oh, but it's not on Shore Road, it's really down on the highway too. That's immaterial, whether it's on the highway or on Shore Road. Both, there's nobody there. Nobody is stopping these people. I hear these crazy screeching of tires at night, in the middle of the night at all hours, and then oftentimes also, not so much now, but in the summer, loud music in the middle of the night, coming down from where they park the cars down there in Lover's Lane. You know, it's really got to be addressed. It really does. It's a huge problem. You know, as a resident of Shore Road, I have to keep my windows closed all the time, and even then, you hear it.
Julie, he actually did mention some activity he's done about speeding along Shore Road, but I will call him tomorrow and mention that you raised it again. He's new, he's eager, and we will definitely speak with him.
Thank you. Anyone else? New business? Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn? Yes. And second and third, everyone have a wonderful Thanksgiving. See you next month. Thank you.